Power Hour with John Lee.
Of Joe Luise. Oh yes, definitely one of the greats, and I think he actually invented what we call boxing now. The way we look at boxing and what you study when you go to a boxing club, and I grew up boxing, you know, and I know enough to know that Joe Luise really, for me anyway, pioneered the sweet science of hitting without being hit, hitting from the place where the other guy can't hit you, and doing what we call now punches in bunches, you know, so slick combinations and all that. And it was Joe Luise that came through with that really, and he was technically superb and a great finisher, probably the best finisher in history. If he's hurt you, he will find the punches to put you on your back, and he will knock you out. There's a lot of fighters who struggle with that. They've hit you, and you're getting all defensive and all that, and you're backing up against the ropes, and they haven't got the skills. You know what I mean? They haven't got the skill set to pick you apart. And Joe Luise did. He banged you twice to the body, once to the jaw again when you're not expecting it, and down you go. So he really created the sweet science and changed it, professionalised it, and became the world heavyweight champion. And he again was dirt poor, born dirt poor. His father was declared insane when he was a kid. He had a terrible childhood, really. And he was told, because they knew he was going to the top, but after the Jack Johnson, you know, fiasco as they saw it, or tremendous victory as it should have been seen, they didn't want another. The word was uppity that they used at the time, cocky black kid. With a big mouth like Jack Johnson. Didn't want that. So he behaved in a way that was very acceptable to the white community. You know, I'm black, but I'm not too black. Whatever horrendous message that's supposed to send to people. And he stayed very much within those lines because he didn't want to be public enemy number one, I suppose. And anyway, but he was a party animal. He loved his parties, Joe Luise. And he became a champion, and then he starts being the celebrity. He's rich. He's going into hotels and buying houses and all this kind of stuff. As Jack Dempsey said, you know, it's hard to get up and run at 5 o'clock in the morning through the snow when you're wearing silk underpants. So he lost that fire, he lost the passion, and he got beat by a guy called Max Schelling. And he was a German fighter. Max, and he was good, and he beat Joe Luise, but he beat a fat, distracted Joe Luise. And then the Nazis really came into power, and Hitler's going on about his master race, the Aryans, and all that. And Joe Luise fought the German champion, who's the world champion, is Max Schelling, and just smashed him up. He was fit, he was concentrating, and he just went in and absolutely marmalised him. And Joe Luise embarrassed Hitler in front of the whole world. Jesse Owens did the same thing. These two black athletes proved that Hitler's master race theory was bullshit. And you should get tremendous credit for that. You know, everybody should know that. They embarrassed that psychotic murderer, Adolf Hitler, in front of the whole world and proved to everybody that it was bullshit. So that the psychological effect of that on the soldiers that had to go to war, and the people of the world know they're not a master race. He's just a dickhead, this Hitler. Because look, Max Schelling's on his ass straight away, and it's a black man who smacked him up. So Yeah, so that's very important. And he was a great, great boxer, technically a wonderful boxer. So they took him into the army, Second World War. They take him in. They don't send him to Europe or Japan or whatever. They keep him there, running the training camps and the fitness regimes. And he was in the army, and he helped in the war effort, obviously. So I mean, obviously, at the same time, what you will find is that he had two lives. He had his family life and his public persona, but then he also had the debauched version of himself, which involved a lot of drugs, cocaine, loads of women, the typical kind of thing, new money, I suppose. And he's in the army, which is helpful to him. And he's Joe Luise. It's great for the troops to have him there. War finishes, and he has helped to defend democracy by being in the army, but he's not allowed to participate in it because he's black. So he can't vote. As I say, the blacks didn't get the vote till 1965. World War II ended in 1945. So the black soldiers came back after defending democracy from this crazy bastard in Germany, and they weren't allowed to vote, weren't allowed to participate in democracy or even go in various restaurants and all that. So very, very sad. So anyway, the tax people, the IRS, went after him. They targeted him, and it was clear that he'd been scammed by people around him. It was obvious, but they went out after him anyway, and they wouldn't leave him alone. They went after him for years and years. And when the IRS wants you, they get you, and they did. They ruined him. They took all his money off him, put him in debt that was just growing and growing and growing. He used every tactic in the world to take this man's money away, and they succeeded. And he ended up working as a greeter outside a casino in Vegas. He was there to attract the tourists, get an autograph with Joe Luise, and then come in and give us your money. So that was very cynical, and the Vegas lifestyle was not good for Joe Luise. He became a cocaine addict and went insane. I don't know if the cocaine precipitated the insanity or not, but that's what happened, and his son had him declared insane, just like his father had been when he was a kid. So very sad kind of circular destiny there, I suppose you could call it. But because I think it was an underlying thing, from father to son, and maybe the cocaine and the punches brought it on. And yeah, he was declared insane eventually. But Joe Luise, great fighter, great man in many ways, but totally flawed, like most of us. So then we go to the next one, Rocky Marciano. Why did Rocky Marciano change the game? Because he wasn't a boxer. By the way, Joe Luise had 69 fights and 66 wins, 52 by KO. So Rocky Marciano, yeah, he wasn't a boxer. As soon as he went into World War II, right? So he grows up dirt poor like all the rest. He goes to World War II because it's a job as a soldier. And also, I suppose he wanted to defend his country and the world. So he went to World War II. He comes back. He's like 23. He walks into a boxing gym and says, I want to be a boxer. He said, well, your head's too big, your arms are too short, and you can't box. And he said, yeah, but nobody in the world is hard enough to beat me in a fight. This is literally his attitude. The man had no fear. Not just in the ring, in life, he had no sense of fear. Like some kind of jungle cat. Just literally didn't feel fear at all. So, and he was hard as nails. I mean, his punching power was just ridiculous for the size of him. He was really, really hard, and you couldn't knock him out. A couple of people knocked him down just by the force of the punch, but it didn't hurt him. You could see you just could not hurt Rocky Marciano. And And he could hurt you, and he did every single time he hit you, and he never stopped. And what he used to do, one thing he pioneered as well, while he's changing the game, is he used to just hit you in the arms, you see. And people were thinking, well, he's not very accurate. No, he's absolutely precise. He's hitting you in the arms deliberately. He's giving you dead arms so that you can't hold your arms up. Your arms keep falling down like that because you've got no feeling, you've got no sensation in your arms. And as soon as you start doing that, Rocky Marciano starts banging you on the knockout button there. And that's what he did. And he scored some brutal knockouts doing that because literally you can't hold your hands up. And this kind of calm was unbelievable. He used to sleep before his fights. How can you sleep before a heavyweight title fight? And he did. He'd just get his head down for half an hour before the fight and then go out and just do the non-stop wrecking ball routine that didn't involve any boxing, really. He just had his own style of fighting that worked really well. He wasn't a boxer. That's what I mean by breaking the game. And this is what Rocky, the film, was all based on, in large part. Leading with your face, no real boxing skills, but just heart and power. And that's what he had. So he becomes the champion. He actually knocked out Joe Louis in brutal fashion when Joe Louis was a very popular figure. And he was past his best, and he begged Marciano for the fight. And he said, right, okay, I'll fight you, but I am Rocky Marciano. And, that's what happens when you beg Marciano for a fight and knocks you out. And it was sad to see Joe Louis sprawled out like that. But, I mean, from my opinion, Rocky Marciano was just doing his job. So they started accusing him of being in the mafia then. Cause more as racism. Oh, you're Italian-American. Well, you must be in the mafia. Which he wasn't. But when he left boxing, when he retired, with, by the way, 49 fights, 49 wins, 43 by KO. No draws, no losses. The only one in history to retire undefeated. And he became a loan shark. He was with his own money, I think, lending it out around the country, travelling around the country and getting his money and getting the interest, all in cash. So, he did have some mafia-like tendencies, but he wasn't a member of the mafia. He'd just lend you money, and if you didn't pay him back, he'd beat you up. And he actually did a film with Ali when he retired as, it was choreographed. But he came away from it saying, yeah, I would have killed him. If he'd have fought me in my prime, I would have killed him. That's how he really felt about it. Because he wasn't arrogant. He just really felt like that. So he did feel invincible. He actually drove the wrong way up the motorway, going between the cars. He just didn't feel fear at all, didn't understand the sensation of it. And so one day he's trying to go somewhere far away, and he wants to get in his plane. He's got a light aircraft, and he gets his mate and his pilot, and they're saying, we can't go up in this, it's a storm, it's going to be really bad. Come on, we're going. I suppose if Rocky says, we're going. So they get in the plane, and the plane crashes in the storm and decapitates Rocky Marciano. So his fear led to his absence of fear led to his own death, because fear protects you. It protects you from doing stupid shit like that. But on the other hand, I mean, the only way to knock the head off Rocky Marciano was in a plane crash, it turns out, because he was hard as nails. Rocky Marciano, much respect for all these guys. I do like that, though. Even though I can't box, I'll still become the world champion.